Good afternoon. Welcome to Cool Springs. Today is Wednesday, March the 18th, 2026, and this is our series, Questions About God and the Bible. We have several hundred of them because we've been doing this series for at least the last 3 to 4 years. We don't do it every week because we don't get a question every single week. The particular question we have for today came out of our Sunday morning adult Bible study where we are looking at the topic of were you there when they crucified the Lord? And this past Sunday, we were looking at the Romans, who were the ones who were spitting on Jesus, scourging him, making fun of him, crucifying him. Even though the Roman governor Pilate had said repeatedly, I don't find any fault with this man, but he was trying to appease the Jewish religious leaders. So the Roman governor Pilate didn't do justice, because justice would have been, he's not guilty, he's done nothing wrong, let him go. But you see, God's plan is for Jesus to die, to pay the sin penalty of the world, including the sins of Pilate and those Roman soldiers. And Pilate caved into the politically expedient pressure from the Jewish religious leaders who wanted Jesus dead. And so as we were discussing that Sunday school topic, one of the adults in the classroom waited until the camera was off. They all wait until the camera's off. Even though I've asked them repeatedly, please just, if you have a question, just ask it. Because if you've got the question, not only do you have it, but probably the other people sitting in this room have the question. And whoever's watching on camera may also have that question. But some of them are very, very camera shy, and they don't want even their voices on camera. So they keep waiting until after we've turned off the equipment and we're getting ready to go from the Sunday school Bible study into the worship service. And one person stopped me and asked me, why didn't Jesus fight back? And I know this person well enough to know something about how they were raised and the fact that when they were young, they were raised, don't you ever start a fight, don't pick a fight, don't try to stir up any trouble, but don't let anybody bully you. If somebody starts to do wrong, you try to be peaceful, but don't let anybody push you around. And so this younger adult was trying to figure out why Jesus didn't respond to those religious leaders who were hurling the false accusations. Why he didn't just stop the Romans from bullying, because he's got the power of God. He certainly can come off that cross like the religious leaders were mockingly asking him to do. If you're really the Messiah, why don't you come off that cross and then we'll believe in you? And he certainly could have put a stop to the Romans arresting him, to the Romans beating him, scourging him, forcing him to carry a cross, putting the nails in him. And so this younger adult was asking the question, why didn't Jesus fight back? And the answer very simply and very profoundly is because he loved us enough not to. If Jesus comes off that cross, like the religious leaders, making fun of him, taunting him as he's actively dying, come off that cross, then we'll believe you. If he comes off that cross before he has died, then he hasn't paid the sin penalty for mankind. And if Jesus comes off the cross, then their belief, or yours and mine, or anybody else's future belief, I guess he proved he really is God in the flesh because he came off that cross and he didn't let anybody push him around, he would not have completed the act of paying for our sin penalty. It wasn't nails that kept him on the cross. It was loving us enough to submit to all the torture that mankind was going to foist on him. Every form of evil and wickedness that mankind could think of. Because he needed to cover those sins. Jesus hanging on the cross asked for forgiveness. Father, not for himself, but for the people. He is calling out to God, Father, forgive them, for they don't know what they're doing. And you know what? He was right. Those people who were calling for him to come off that cross so that they could believe, they didn't know what they were asking for. They were asking for God to interrupt the plan of salvation and stop short of paying the sin penalty. The Romans, who were just being wicked and cruel because they were lost, they were without God. They were bullying because they weren't reconciled to God. They needed that salvation too. It's one thing for us to stand up for ourselves, to defend ourselves, to speak up for others who are being bullied or put into harm's way. But Jesus had to pay the sin penalty for mankind. He really could have called 10,000 angels to destroy the world and set him free, as the hymn goes. But it wouldn't have led to our salvation. He stayed on the cross. He didn't fight back because, frankly, mankind and the worst that the human beings can do to him were no match for God's power. God didn't need to prove, hey, you can't push me around. God needed to love us enough, and he did, to where he would be willing to submit to the Father's will. Jesus prayed in that garden, Father, if there's any other way, let this cup of torture and death, pass from me. Nevertheless, not my will, but thy will be done. He had to be fully God and fully human. He had to suffer everything we suffered. He had to experience the pain of death so that we could be reconciled and not experience eternal death. Why didn't Jesus fight back? In the most incredible way possible, he really is. He's fighting Satan's hold over us. He's fighting the sin that mankind is guilty of by staying put on the cross. He's conquering death by dying and rising again. Thanks for watching.